Tired of spinning your wheels? If so, this video is for you because I'm going to show you how to wake up every day with unstoppable confidence, totally immune to distraction, and able to do what you said you were going to do to scale your business. This video is about how to master the most important tool you have at your disposal. And that tool is your mind. Yes, your mind. Research shows that 80% of success in any discipline has to do with your mental game. Once you take control of your thoughts and your emotions and eventually your behaviors, you have a much higher likelihood of achieving your goals. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is a proven protocol that all elite performers in the performing arts, athletes, entrepreneurs do, because it has been proven over thousands of years to work in giving you control over the most important tool you have. Hello, my name is Castillo, founder of Selfmastered Peak Performance Institute for Entrepreneurs. We research the art and science of peak performance to help entrepreneurs scale without any procrastination, overwhelm, and burnout. And today I want to talk about how to master your mind, because that is the most important skill you will ever master as a human being, as an entrepreneur, because it will give you the ability to take control of your internal state, to understand your thoughts and your emotions as something that is not you, and carefully select those that are most aligned with the goals that you are seeking to achieve. But let's first understand, why do I say that the mind is a tool? Well, the mind is a tool, is a reality that has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in order to help us survive. It has been evolving through evolutionary pressure to interpret the environment in which we live in and assign labels to it. When we go through an experience that we like, we label it as positive. When we go through an experience that we don't like, we label it as negative. And this is what the mind fundamentally does. It's constantly labeling things either positive or negative, because it has an inbuilt tendency towards two things. One is avoiding pain, and the other one is approaching pleasure. So the mind is basically what the brain does in order to make sure you survive. The problem is, it evolved for an environment that is fundamentally different from the one that we have these days. So right now, the mind is labeling as negative thoughts and emotions that are intrinsically positive for your personal growth, and vice versa. It gives you thoughts, emotions, and triggers behavior that look good, that seem fine, but they're fundamentally misaligned with your goals of becoming the best you could ever be. So shaping the mind, learning how to navigate those tendencies is absolutely fundamental. And there's a concept called programming. Every time you have gone through an experience, good or bad, you have shaped your mind towards avoiding that thing in the future or approaching it in the future. So over time, your mind has its own inclinations. You naturally gravitate towards the things and the people you like, and you move away of those that you are repelled by. The problem is that you have no control over that mind. You will eventually feel stuck because the environment is constantly changing. The things that are happening around you are in constant motion, and your own goals and ambitions and own self is in constant evolution. So unless you are able to update your programming to your own liking, you'll constantly be stuck in an underperforming mind. And the number one way in this is shown is when your mind travels to the past or travels to the future, moving you away from the present moment, which is the only moment in time that it really exists in which you can deploy your best behavior to unlock peak performance. Every time your mind is taking you outside of the present moment, you are curtailing your performance. So the whole idea of training your mind is maximizing your ability to stay in the present moment so you can choose your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior for peak performance. And this is what elite performers do differently. If you're seeing any value from the video, consider like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of the juicy stuff that will send your way to help you become an elite performer and win in life and business. So elite performers, what they do is that once they understand that they have a saying in how their mind is shaped, that they can get out of that procrastination, that self-sabotage, those distractions that are curtailing their day-to-day, they seek a state called neutrality or equanimity, in which they see reality for what it is without being triggered by it. They know how to stay calm, collected, and in control. In other words, they know how to adapt their programming to the present moment and make sure they never get veered away. It is by becoming neutral to the experience, by not having our own preferences about what should happen or not happen in the present moment, in which we are able to deploy our best intentions. In contrast, average performers are in a constant whirlwind. They're constantly at the mercy of the environment. They're never neutral to the experience. If things go the way they want them to go, they feel happy, they're energized. But if things don't go the way they expected it to go, guess what? They go into negative states of mind that trigger negative behavior that eventually become self-destructive. So the difference between average and elite performers is not a matter of outcomes. It's a matter of how they are able to approach their daily work. In other words, how they can sustain their attention in the present moment without being veered away by the impulse of the mind. There's a very famous quote by Michael Jordan that encapsulates this concept of equanimity. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've almost lost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and this is why I succeeded. This highlights the importance of neutrality, of doing what you know you need to do, irrespective of how you feel about it, and without dealing with the negative consequences that your mind might try to put on you if things don't go the way you want them to go. Because every time you miss a winning shot, every time you lose a game, every time you have a mishap in your business or in your life, you are tempted to feel bad about it. But that is, yet again, your mind and its past programming reacting to that reality. Elite performers just understand that things didn't go the way they wanted to go, and they seek to improve for the next time, just as Michael Jordan did. So to move away from average to elite performance, you must master the mind. At the highest pinnacles of business, of sports, the art, the edge is never how smart you are or how connected you are, how much capital you have. No, because everybody's crazy smart, is connected, and has money. What is the difference? Is having a mind that works for you, not against you. And there's fundamentally two protocols that I recommend everyone to do in order to clear the negative programming and become much more able to take control of their minds. Of course, there's a lot, dozens of protocols that we share with our clients. These two are probably two of the most effective. So the first one is meditation. So meditation is the ability to do nothing, is to pay attention to one anchor, whatever that is. It can be your breath, it can be a sound, it can be a mantra, doesn't matter, and only fixate on that thing. What this does is that it trains the mind to focus on one thing. And every time the mind is tempted to get distracted, which it will, you bring it back to that anchor. And the protocol itself is extremely simple. You just wake up 15 minutes earlier than you would normally wake up. You go to a quiet space, you put a timer, 10 minutes is more than enough, and you focus on your breath, on your mantra, or a sound, or whatever. And you do this every single day at the same time. In the beginning, your mind is going to be racing all around. Doesn't matter, because in meditation, what we consider one rep is every time you bring your attention back to the center, because the goal is to over time be able to get back to that center, which helps with impulse control and emotional management. So that's protocol number one. It's meditation. It's something I've been doing for 10 years. We recommend every single one of our clients to start doing it. And this really is the crux of personal development. You cannot develop yourself if you have no control over your mind. Now, protocol number two is more powerful. It's called letting go. As we were mentioning before, the mind has triggers. Every time you went through your life and you lived an experience that you care about, either because it was a good one or it was a bad one, that left a residue in your subconscious mind. And that over time shaped your mind with a specific lens that has judgments about the present experience. So you have triggers. Every time you move through life, you are triggered by the good or the bad. The more triggered you are, the more you react to that life, the harder it becomes to sustain peak performance, because you are at the mercy of your own instinctual reactions. So the goal is to learn how to let go of all of those triggers. Every time something happens to you that you are negatively triggered by, you just pause, accept the fact that we're just triggered, try to understand why exactly that is triggering you, you accept it and you let it go. So for instance, let's say that you are procrastinating on a very specific type of task. Let's say that you hate writing. And every time you sit down to write, you end up getting distracted. Well, you consciously realize that writing is creating that emotional triggering in your mind because in the past, maybe when you were doing writing at school or whatever, you never got good grades or whatever, but you have a negative connotation to the act of writing. So what do? Next time you sit down to write and you see that emotional resistance coming to the writing, you accept it, you let it go, and you start writing. And over time, that is going to reshape your neural networks that are involved with the act of writing. So it eventually becomes second nature to you. So this truly is fundamental. There's nothing you will achieve in your life. You have no control over your mind. And the higher you go in business, the more triggered you will be because the pressure will be higher, the more stress you have to deal with. And over time, if you don't know how to do this, you will be shooting yourself in the foot. There will be a cap to how successful you can become. So just to recap, you must train your mind. Once you train your mind, everything in your personal development and performance optimization becomes exponentially easier. And out of the dozen protocols that we share with our clients, two of the most effective are meditation, which is a conscious act of focusing on one specific anchor. Again, the breath, sound, mantra, whatever, and then letting go. Understanding that your mind has a programming. Every time you hit the limits of those programs when you're triggered by something in your day-to-day, and every time you're triggered, accept it and let it go. So over time, your own baseline emotional level goes up and you are able to be a much higher performing individual. If you want to know exactly how to train your mind so you can achieve this in 6 weeks, book a call with us and if you qualify, we'll be happy to help you become the best version of yourself so you can crush it in business. But in the meantime, we have this video here that goes deeper into how to really become an elite performer. Check it out. See you in the next video.